thank you so much, JJ, for doing this. I really appreciate it.
That's all right, man. Yeah.
I'm super excited to talk to you, obviously, about your journey with Gang of Four and the new EP, and actually about your whole musical journey. Because I know you joined the band a bit later down the line, obviously, but I want to hear about it. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in North Kent, like just sort of south of London.
Oh, okay. So you're also from the UK.
Yeah, I lived like right by the River Thames, but like to this sort of to the west of London.
Okay.
A place called Dartford.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then was there like, is it a pretty big city, pretty big town, or?
It is not particularly, but it's like close enough to London that it didn't really have much of a scene, but further. You know, so like you go up there, yeah. But I mean, it was famous. It was famous because the Rolling Stones are from there. That's its sort of claim to fame.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a pretty big claim to fame.
Yeah, Keith Richards went to my school, but he got expelled, obviously.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Wow. Is there like old yearbook pictures of him and stuff like around the school?
There's some pictures knocking about. Yeah. But he wrote when he wrote his autobiography, he was very scathing of Dartford. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
He's not welcome back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I bet you they'd welcome him back.
Oh, yeah. I'd go for a beer with him for sure.
Oh, hell yeah. Thank you. Dude, thank you so much again for doing this. So how did you get into music?
My dad's like an old sort of English folk player. He used to love all the kind of like pentangle stuff, all that and some previous stuff like Martin Carthy, all that real sort of finger in your ear stuff. So I got into that, and I wanted to learn guitar. He tried teaching me a few times, just acoustic, and trying to teach me all the finger picky stuff. And I picked it up a couple of times and dropped it a couple of times, and eventually I started getting into some like punk music, like more sort of like the pop punk stuff, like Blink-182 and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because those songs are so easy, I was just like, I can do this. So I just sort of learnt myself, really. I thought, and I think that's the best way. You got to kind of want to do it, And,
sure.
and you got, with guitar, it's like it's rather than trying to learn a theory of something, it's always better to just like be able to play a song, and then you can just like show your mate, like, look, I can play this.
Yeah.
It's kind of more. That's what I wanted to do, and then I joined the band by accident, really. I sort of went to help out at a rehearsal, just playing rhythm guitar, and the singer never turned up. So I ended up like stepping in for that rehearsal, and then just kind of carried on doing it, basically. So it kind of, I just sort of fell into it, really.
Wow. Was that like in high school?
Yeah, I was about 15, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay. And did you guys in that band what lasted through high school, or was it just kind of like
we sort of like we did all right in a little town, which isn't saying very much, but we did like we'd put on our own shows, and we did it pretty DIY. It was really fun times. I mean, I think musically we were pretty awful, but we had a lot of fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you play?
Yeah.
Were you gonna play? Did you play shows in like London and stuff?
Yeah, we'd go up. That was like the holy grail. We'd go up there and do the odd show. Generally, none would turn up. But when we played in our hometown, we'd get big crowds. Well, we'd get our mates down, basically.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, it was great. I learned a lot, and we did. We had a bit of a following down there, and we just had a laugh. It was just like four of us. We didn't really think about it in any other terms of just we just enjoyed being in a band together. That was kind of all it was. But we had a manager who kind of like pushed us to a degree, and we did, for our lack of talent, we did all right.
Yeah, wow. So you were able to get a manager. How did you get the manager?
God knows. I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't know. He wasn't even local. I don't know.
Yeah. Found you somehow. Right on.
I'll have to ask him now. I'm still in contact with him.
Oh, you are? That's cool. Okay, so you're in that band, and that high school band, and then what was the next step for you?
Yeah, then from that band, we played a show in London in a band that I used to really, really love called Larrikin Love. They only put one album out, but they were like a real kind of like staple of the kind of London like punk indie scene. They split up, and the bass player like was watching one of our shows and asked me to join his new band after Larrikin Love, and then
oh, cool.
Yeah, and then that was like a real few years where we sort of toured all over. We toured Albania twice,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was with the British Council. It was some sort of weird like colonial, let's export British culture abroad.
That's
They
cool.
didn't. They weren't interested, but yeah, no, it was a good laugh, that band. And then through that, similar thing. The Gang of Four management were watching a show that we were doing and asked me to sort of come and do a little session with Andy at his studio.
Wow.
And I said yes. And I kind of just thought I was just doing a little bit of session singing, because he was producing a German band at the time.
Oh,
and he just asked me to do a couple of like backing vocal things. And then he asked me to sing like an old Gang of Four track. And I was like, that's a bit weird that you would do that. And then the next thing I know, he's like asked me to, well, there was like a tour book for China and Japan. He's like, do you want to do it? I was like, fucking definitely,
Yeah.
It beats playing crap pubs in London.
Wow. So it just happened to be Gang of Four's manager was just watching that show and said, hey.
They were watching the show. They were sort of flirting with the idea of signing the previous band to manage them. And then I think it was just coincidence at the same time that John King left, the original Gang of Four singer. Mm-hmm. They were kind of semi-interested already, and then they were like, oh, we know this guy. And then they went to watch, and then they obviously digged it, I suppose. So,
wow. Yeah. Was that intimidating going in the studio with Andy the first time?
Not really, because I mean, he's just a funny guy, really. He instantly puts you at ease, because he's just like, weirdly enough, he'll always make the tea. You'd think he'd have someone to do that for him, but no, he always makes the tea. He's very particular about his tea, and
okay.
Yeah. So no, I didn't feel too intimidated by it. I think later on I kind of realised what I got myself in for a bit more. But
were you a fan of the band prior to playing with them?
Yeah, I mean, I knew this is what I'm saying. I mean, I kind of knew the classic stuff. I knew Entertainment. I knew Solid Gold, and a few of the sort of later hits like
Right.
I Love a Man in Uniform, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't really realise their kind of influence too much until I started digging around. I mean, I kind of realised that I was influenced by them by default, because a lot of the bands I was listening to when I was like, sort of 17, 18, like a lot of that kind of angular, jaggy indie stuff from like London or like Leeds or Sheffield. A lot of that was kind of influenced by Gang of Four, and also half of it was produced by Andy. So
yeah, I mean,
that was a real shock when I kind of looked.
I was gonna say, Entertainment is like one of the most influential records ever. I mean, especially in that scene.
That's it. I mean, I knew it, and but I remember the first time I heard Gang of Four, it was on like a Rough Trade compilation CD.
Oh, okay.
And it was just like, because I hadn't heard, I was like really young, I was like 14, something like that. And I didn't know what the band was. And I just assumed that they were like current, because it sounded like all the other stuff that was on there. Mm-hmm. But, for good reason, because I suppose a lot of those other bands were kind of influenced by it. So
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember what song it was? Was it Damaged Goods?
No, it wasn't. I think it was, Natural's Not In It. Natural's Not In It.
Oh, okay. Still same record. That's cool.
Yeah.
Rad. Well, how is it like, okay, so they ask you to join the band. You're like, of course, let me come do this tour. How was it coming on stage? And like, what was the response from the crowd as like being, you've got to be the new singer? Like that must have been kind of a difficult situation, I would assume.
I think it was one of those things. I mean, I was pretty young, and I didn't give it too much thought. I just sort of said yes and went with it. And it was only later that I started to maybe think a bit more about it. I kind of just did it. And those early shows, that it was a tour of China and Japan, and it just felt like so far away from home that I don't know, it was probably the best thing I could have done to do it there, because it didn't feel, how can I put this? When we played in the first show in Leeds in England, that was when I really started to kind of appreciate the thing of like, oh shit, I'm the new guy here.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Because I think in Japan and China, they hadn't really had them over. So there wasn't that kind of, they weren't that familiar as such. So when I think it was the first English shows, I was like, oh man, this is something that I'm stepping into some big shoes, put it that way.
Yeah. How is it writing like that? The record that the first record that you're on with the band, was that pretty? I mean, like, was that different working with Andy than other people that you had previously worked with writing and stuff?
Yeah, it was more fragmented in the way that we worked. Like we didn't sort of do it all of us in a room together. It was very much Andy had his way of working, and I'd come in, you know, we'd hammer out vocal ideas and we'd do it bit by bit. And I learned a lot about the way that he worked. You know, he'd analyze every single line and every lyric, and we'd really sort of think about the phrasing and placement, and you know, even the amount of syllables in each line. And so it's a different way of working, because I was used to that sort of just get in there and do it. Probably because I didn't have enough money for much studio time. So, but Andy had his own studio, so we had the luxury of being able to sit down and really kind of, you know, hone things. So that was really good.
And you're working with like a legend, so I'm sure that could help.
No, he's great. You know, he's not. He certainly wasn't a easygoing in certain sense. I mean, as a person he is, but as a producer, he's very much just like, okay, again, until we get that take.
Perfect.
And I think, that's something that I certainly learned from him, is to just be like, not to settle for something and fix it in post. You get it right straight away.
Sure. So you put out two records with Gang of Four, and then this most recent EP. Do you feel like once you press was it a different, like, I don't know, did you feel more like included with the band once you started putting records out with your, you know, vocal on it and stuff? And or were the shows different once you were singing your own songs and the Gang of Four stuff versus just all the old Gang of Four songs?
I think it was always nice when you'd have you'd play songs live that you'd recorded, you know, because it's they feel like they're your own songs. And to hear people sort of singing the words back to you and all those kind of things, I think that certainly made me feel more kind of accepted and included in the band. But really, I mean, those old songs, I mean, when you play them on tour, like, you know, you do like a 30-date US tour, you know them so well, you know, you may as well have, they feel like your own songs anyway, you know.
Sure.
You kind of interpret them different from the start of the tour to the end, and you know them inside out. So it's not a case of knowing the songs, but yeah, it certainly helps having your own songs on the records for the live stuff. Yeah,
very cool. Well, I want to hear about the new EP. So it's, you guys re-recorded 2 old songs, and then you have 2 brand new songs. Yeah, and those were like the final songs played with Andy, right?
So we'd come off that last. It wasn't the final tour, but it was the one before that. I think it was a US one, and we were just, you know, it was one of the best tours we'd ever done. We felt like we were kind of firing all cylinders, and we just went straight into the studio and we knocked out pretty much the entire set that we were doing, just because we felt like we kind of wanted to have a record of it. It just felt kind of right. And we had and especially, you know, Change the Locks and Toreador, which was on the previous EP, they're new songs on Happy Now, but the way that we were playing them, as I said before, you know, like after a long tour like that, you kind of they evolve and they change, and we felt like we wanted to get them down on record. As to the way that we were playing them at that moment in time. So yeah, they were the final recordings that we did, basically. Yeah. Wow.
And you said, or I read, so 2 of the songs on there are new, and one of the songs was one that you wrote about Andy, right? And lyrically, or like, how did that work? Because did he play on all 4 songs?
He played on Forever Starts Now was a collab between me and Andy that basically started on the sessions for Happy Now. We were going to try and get it onto that record, but we never finished it in time. And we were always sort of like, we'd always meet up in like hotel bars and stuff, and we'd talk about that song, like, we got to finish it. We never we never got around to it, but it was so close to being finished that when we actually decided we were going to put it on the EP, all of Andy's parts were pretty much there, so it's a case of just tidying it up. We knew kind of where we were going with it. But then Day Turns Into Night that's just my song, basically, and Thomas Gang of Four, bass player, he produced it. So I wrote it, you know, a few days after Andy died, actually, and I just I don't know why, I just sent it to the Gang of Four manager, and he was like, "Oh, that's about Andy, isn't it?" And I was like, oh shit, is it that obvious?
Oh,
I mean,
man.
I think it was, and I just didn't think about the lyrics when I wrote them too much. They just kind of came out, and I was a little bit anxious about putting it out because of the subject matter, and also just because it was, you know, so kind of pure in its delivery. Like there's no like symbolism there. It's just like straight down the line. And I never really write like that. I've never written like that before. I've always like cloaked things in ambiguity and tried to sort of, you know, give people their own meanings, whatever they want to take from it, to a degree. But this one was just like, but no, I'm glad I kind of wrote it like that actually, because it was a perfect distillation of how I was feeling at that time, not clouded by cynicism or anything like that, you know.
Yeah.
And it's, I think listening to it now, it feels like it's, it feels like a good tribute to him, I think.
No, totally. And then you guys had Shepard Fairey make the album cover, which is rad. I don't know.
Yeah, he just.
I've got a couple Shepard Fairies in the background here.
Oh, you do? Yeah. Nice.
There's two right there. So I'm a huge fan. I saw that cover. And how did you guys get him to contribute? I know he's a fan of the band.
He just messaged us and said, if you want anything done, like I'll do it. And he just did it, and he knocked it out in a few days and just was like, there you go. And it was like,
oh, really?
It's just like that. I mean, I wasn't quite sure how he was going to do it, but he just did it that classic, you know, iconic kind of style that he does. And it was just kind of perfect. And then he just did like 3 different colors for the singles. Done.
Wow.
So yeah, I need to get him to get me a poster, because I'd love that in my house. That'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
But they are for sale. I know he's putting them up for sale. So if anyone wants any.
He is putting them up for sale.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I think he's going to do like a limited run, but they will be up for sale at some point if they're not already.
That's cool. That's really cool. So he I know he was a fan of Gang of Four. So did he just do it because he knew that he had died and was like, hey, like I want to do this?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we'd met him relatively recently. We met him on the last US tour. He came to the Roxy in LA.
Oh, okay.
To watch us play with Tom Morello, and he seemed lovely. And I think he's just always been a fan. So, you know, having been a fan for, you know, a few years, and then having met Andy, I think he just felt like he kind of wanted to do something, which is very sweet.
Yeah,
sweet. Yeah,
definitely.
Because, you know, when people say that, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. Especially people that are as busy as he must be. Oftentimes, they say something and then it's just a platitude. But no,
right? Yeah, like, yeah. If you ever need anything, call me.
I mean, I'm sure I've said that before with people.
Sure. How did you guys decide on the 2 older songs that you put on the record?
So there's Glass on there.
Glass and Change the Locks. Yeah.
Yeah. So Change the Locks is from Happy Now, which is like relatively recent, like it's like from the last record.
Oh, okay.
And that was, as I say, that was because of the fact that we just played it pretty much every day on that last tour before we went into the studio. So we just felt like we were kind of like tight on it. We were, you know, we recorded it all kind of live anyway. So it was all of us playing at the same time. And we just knocked it out in one take, and it was exactly how we kind of played it live at that moment. So that was why we wanted to do that. We felt like it was a great record of the way we were sort of touring it. And pretty much the same with Glass. I think it's obviously it's kind of a more iconic track, but I think the reason that we kind of wanted to do it was because it's a slight change of arrangement, and again, it was just how we were kind of playing it on that last tour, so we wanted to get that down.
Yeah. So okay, so yeah, you guys went in there to record the songs that you had been playing on tour to just kind of get that new like fresh feel for them, exactly, and then you just ended up using them for what became the CP.
That was it. I mean, we were planning on kind of putting those songs out that we recorded. I mean, we didn't want to just record them for no reason.
Sure.
But then when Andy died, I mean, he was finalizing the mixes like literally in hospital, so we were kind of like, fuck. I mean, they were so close to being done. He wanted to get them out. They were pretty much there anyway, so we thought, let's put them on this final EP, these last couple of tracks, and I think I'm glad that we've got those out, especially Change the Locks, because I think it's I personally prefer it to the album version.
Oh, you like this newer version but more?
Yeah, it's a bit more loose, you know. It's like it feels like, I mean, I can only really speak for my own performance, but I think my own performance is kind of more you know, more. The song's more lived in, and I know the song better. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you guys are donating the money from the from the record. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the hospital that Andy was in, it's bang on the Thames. Like, it's literally opposite the Houses of Parliament, and it's it's like it's you know, public hospital, NHS, and it's one of the best in the world. I mean, the care that he had was just incredible, and you'd see, you know, they treat everyone, you know, and you know that you're going to get the best care that you'll get anywhere in the world. And the fact that we have that in this country, I think is something that we've really got to fight for, because, you know, they're always trying to erode it, or, you know, there's talk of that. And so yeah, we just thought it just felt natural, you know, like the care that Andy had, we couldn't think of anyone that kind of deserved it more. And especially with this kind of like the COVID outbreak and things like that, you know.
Sure.
I feel like healthcare workers are, I think I've just feel that we kind of realised how much we need them, and in our small way, it's just us saying, you know, thank you for what you did with Andy, but also just in general, you know.
Sure, I didn't realize that was the hospital that he was at that you guys are donating.
Yeah, it's Guy's and St Thomas's. Yeah,
that's amazing.
You know, they treat. I mean, Boris Johnson, our leader, was in when he got COVID. He was in the same ward as Andy, so it's like they'll treat everybody from, like, you know, all over the UK. So they're a great place.
That's amazing.
And then we need to fight for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's. Go ahead. Sorry.
We need to fight for it, because, you know, there's, you know, every budget that we get, you know, we're worried that they're going to kind of try and sell it off and things like that. So I think, you know, it's important.
Yeah. When he got sick, you guys weren't even able to see him then, right? Because he was in the hospital.
No,
COVID.
It was just before they kind of, we went into lockdown.
Oh,
so we did, yeah, we could, which is you know, fortunate for us and everyone involved, because yeah, I can't imagine what it'd be like if you can't, you know, if you know your loved one's in there.
Yeah, you guys had to kind of just, you know, sit on the sidelines, so to speak, and wait.
No, it was just before that, yeah. So so that it was good, you know. We could all be there, and we kind of took over the intensive care unit to a degree. There was a lot of us there.
That's,
you know,
good.
It was like the whole band, and you know, the kind of core relatives, and no, it's good. It was it was good that we were all there. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, that's great. That was kind of my concern for you guys. Almost like I was just wondering, like, I know that happened really relatively, you know, not that long ago, and then with the COVID outbreak, I wasn't sure if they were even going to let you guys in there to see him and stuff. So
no, we
I guess the one benefit of happening before the outbreak was that it happened, you know, or whatever. So wow. What would you say, like, the most validating moment in your musical career so far has been?
The most validating? What do you mean by that?
Like the moment where you're like, you know what, I'm doing this for real. Like, this is my job, and all the hard work I've put in, the 10,000 hours is finally, like, it was worth it, kind of, so to speak. I
mean, there's been plenty of moments where you kind of like look across to Andy or to Thomas, and there's just like a kind of look where you're just like, this is shit hot, you know, when you're when you're firing all cylinders, you know, like say you're about 12 shows into a tour, that's about peak.
Okay.
After that you start getting tired. But there's been a few moments like that. But I mean, I think the most for me personally was we played in Moscow, and weirdly enough, the band that I was in previous to Gang of Four had no one gave a shit about us in London. Can I swear, by the way, on this podcast? Is it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
you can say whatever you want. I don't think for anybody.
Great. We the band that I was in previous to Gang of Four, we had no one gave a shit about us in London, really. But we weirdly had like a fan base in Moscow, and we had a Russian fan club.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I posted a picture of like me in Red Square saluting, and loads of the fan club like messaged me and was like, "Oh, you're in Moscow," and they came. So we had like Gang of Four fans, fans from my old band, and they were like right at the front. And it just, at that moment, it felt like, yeah, I think you said about the 10,000 hours. It's like, I felt like on top of my game in terms of like musically, but also I felt like I kind of grafted enough and like clawed my way to a point where people actually gave a shit.
Yeah.
I think that was the moment where I felt this is legit.
Sure. That's really cool.
It took long enough though.
Yeah, it does. So you guys have the EP out. Obviously you're pushing that. Musically, what's next for you? Do you know yet, or?
For me,
personally, yeah.
So I'm working on a solo EP, which is going to come out. It'll be before the end of this year for sure.
Oh, cool. Just under JJ Sterry.
Under JJ Sterry, yeah. It's the first time I've sort of put anything out under my own name, you know. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited about it because I feel like it's, I don't know, it's kind of a bit more mature than stuff that I've done previously. It's kind of like, you know, a bit more spoken word, a bit more setting scenes and things like that. Mm-hmm. And Thomas is producing it, actually. Thomas, bass player, Game 4. So I'm kind of excited to get some stuff out because it's been a while since I put any of my own music out, other than, you know, with Gang 4 stuff. So yeah, I can't wait. I mean, God knows what's going to happen. There's no touring for a while, is there? So
right, I know.
So I might as well put music out because I'm not going to be doing any gigs for a while. Yeah.
Sure. And then have you done like live stuff on Instagram or Facebook or any of that stuff? Do you do those like live streams?
I haven't yet. I don't know how I feel about that.
We'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
And you have another band. Is it Fuck Band or how do you?
Yeah, well, FUKC. I mean, it's kind of like a play on it's like a French UK connection because the other guy, Lem, is French.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's the name. But I mean, yeah, it's basically, I mean, you can call it Fuck if you want.
I didn't know.
On radio, it's FUKC, but on podcast, it's Fuck. Yeah.
Tell me about that band. Are you guys actively still working doing stuff?
Yeah, so we're finishing our second EP with that band, and it's great fun because it's like Lem's kind of coming from the more electronic side, like, you know, we're using samples and just kind of chucking everything in the pan, and then I'm kind of coming from the sort of more rock stuff, so I'll whack guitars on it and distortion, and then do my vocals. So it's a real like melting pot, that band. There's only two of us, but it just it's really fun because we're kind of like that. You know, we're sort of like butting heads in a friendly way, I like to think.
Sure.
And like we're kind of like clawing bits here. And I think the results are kind of like fun. They're kind of colourful and a bit kaleidoscopic, slightly schizophrenic. It's good.
I like it. And do you guys play live or anything, or is it just kind of a...
Yeah, we just before lockdown, we actually got our live show in order. So we were doing some stuff there. We did a couple of shows in London, one down in Hastings on the south coast, which kind of kicked off, which was great. So we'll be doing some more if we're allowed. Yeah.
So you got FUKC and your solo stuff going in the future. Very cool. Can't wait to hear it, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and I really appreciate, Matt, you spending time to talk with me today.
Not at all, no, pleasure.
I'm a huge fan of the band and of Shepard Fairey, and I love the new stuff you guys have done, or this at least final EP is great. So
thanks, man. Cheers.
Yeah, I have one more question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh man, that's a burdenous question, isn't it? Okay. Well, I suppose you'd have to say, I mean, in my experience, sometimes it's the last man standing that, you know, that's when you start getting results sometimes. And I mean, it's easy to say, just keep trying, but I think that's probably the advice I would give. You know, I think there's a lot of people that do music as, I don't know, I think that a lot of people that kind of wishy-washy with it, they just want to kind of like be a singer and be famous or whatever. But the people that are really, really good and really have something to give, I think a lot of the time they feel like they've got no other option but to carry on. And I think that's a good thing. And I think, as I say, sometimes it's the last person that keeps going that does the best. So I would say just keep on trucking.
a bad word.